Alright guys, today we're gonna go over a full guide on how you can have the perfect start in Beast of Reincarnation, how to get some of the best items early on, get much stronger quicker, and other tips and tricks that will simply help you out in your journey. Now, right out of the gate, we can already get some very strong unlocks to help us with the bosses in the area. And specifically from the starting location, we're going to head over west on this side of the map. There's a facility here that already gives us the fire arrow recipe, which helps a ton with the main boss in this region. Then further up north, we have some extra charms and items we can grab. And if we go over the river area, there's a secondary facility here that also provides us the recipe for the acid bolts, which are amazing against many of the robot mini bosses we're going to be fighting. Plus, we can get the mech blade at the top of the Riverside building through another encounter. And if you also want that, we can grab the chainmail very close to this sort of lake area further up north, all of which actually go rather quickly. So let's get started with the recipe for the fire arrows. It's actually going to be pretty close by, and the thing about Beast of Reincarnation is that there's a lot of verticality when it comes to this game. So for example, if I were to hold down the jump button, as you can see, we can use the vines to gain a lot of height, which we can then use, of course, to set up cool trick shots like these, avoid damage, or even more so, set up one-shot assassinations. If enemies don't spot you, this can be extremely helpful to just get the drop on them and deal instant damage instead of wasting time against, enemies like these that spam a lot of attacks, or the ones with the shields that you will see in just a little bit that block a lot of incoming attacks. So that is basically what we're going to be doing here. Also, you will have your companion Ku, which is kind of like your oversized wolf. Expedition 33 players are going to be familiar with this one, but you can use various abilities that can debuff enemies in different ways. For example, in the case of the High Bane Bloom here, your second ability, as you can see, it provides both stagger and shield break against these shielded enemies, and it immediately fills that stun meter right away to help you with damage even more. So just one of the many things you can do, but for the time being, though, we're going to enter this small tent over here and we're going to grab an unidentified charm. This is going to be extremely useful once we decode it at any site of grace, as it's going to provide some extra powers to our companion. However, in the meantime, we're going to head over towards the fire arrow recipe. So we're pretty much going to go on this route. You can see the building over there in the background, take down the enemies, and it should go really quickly. Inside, you're going to get 9 fire arrows without having to craft them, but you can also grab the recipe to now have them at all times. Every time you rest at any site of grace, or whatever it is called in this game, yeah, as you can see, they will replenish by themselves upon rest. And I'm going to show you a quick trick with the Keeper Golems in just a little bit, how to get information about other cool locations that give you permanent upgrades. But for the time being, we're just going to grab everything. And now we're going to head over further up north in a second facility right here. But on the way, I want to show you what we can do with the decrypted charm we just got. Because if we visit one of these altars right here, or well, camps, as you can see, it automatically gets decoded and it gave us a defensive charm 1. Not exactly what I wanted, but as you can see, the secondary effect on it is really strong. So if we go here to Ku, it's going to provide its normal attacks to now inflict shock damage with a build-up of +5, which is actually not too bad. The last time I got it this way, it was with corrosive damage instead, so the outcome is always going to be RNG, but the spawn position in whichever, container you find them will always be fixed. You will always find it in the same container, it's just the result that will be RNG. Now, from this point on, we're going to head over across, and I want to show you why you need to pay attention to these Keeper Golems you will see everywhere with the chat bubbles. If you have a conversation with them, they will give you a dialogue option that will indicate the location of maybe a weapon or some kind of other different upgrade within the region you're currently in. Very important to check on these guys every now and then. For example, if I were to find the weapon here, so the first dialogue, it's going to pinpoint exactly the location of the mech blade I was mentioning we're gonna get at the start of the video. But if I were to have picked the other dialogue instead, it would have showed, yeah, the recipe for the acid bolts pretty much on this side of the map. But since we know the locations, we're gonna go there beforehand and basically do this all over. So we are going to head over towards that location, and the first thing we're going to be doing is take on this encounter close by the secondary facility. In this case, we're going to be fighting a pretty much a mini boss of sorts. He's going to be tougher than the others, which is why that assassination we performed was so important, because it took down half of its HP in an instant. Now, you do have to be careful about its parry windows. Pretty much each katana or sword you get has a different effect when you perform parries on the target. This one, I believe, just increases our vigor or maybe the stagger that we receive. So in this case, you're going to want to get your parry minigame up and going. As you can see, it's going to help a ton to build stagger and even more so to also get those extra bonuses. However, there's a second reason why we defeated this guy, and that is because he gave us a code we can use on the nearby strongbox. So inputting that code you see on the screen will usually reward you some very strong items. In this case, we have some consumables, we got some extra charms, as you can see, upgrades for the walker, or basically our walking base, plus quite a few other items as well. One of them that we got for Ku again is this one called Recovery Tonic. For the time being, we can equip this on him. We don't currently have the recipe, but he can use this to heal us on top of the healing that we also have. So really helpful in some of the upcoming fights. In any case, from this point on, we're going to head over further north from this location on the other side of the river. Of course, we're going to follow this side of the map, and once again, just make use of your vine jump attack so that you can reach other sides more easily. Once you're close to the location, we're not going to take the elevator as he's going to notice us. Instead, we're going to use the nearby cliff to get the drop on him again. So in this case, using the vines, as you can see, we can use that to our advantage to basically get another assassination in, which is going to be a quick half of its HP gone basically in an instant. Now, this guy is going to be a little bit more challenging because his attacks also inflict, that acid buildup. But as long as you can parry the major attacks, that's going to be good enough. You're going to have enough survivability, while Ku puts the work on him with the special ability, Manu over here. So in this case, just get the parrying going and this should go really simple. Full on stagger. Ku throws him in the air, performing chain assassinations, or the takedown here, and it's pretty much done. So now that all of that is done, we can simply enter the main room, and now we just have to grab both the acid bolts from the ground so that I don't have to craft them, but then we can also grab the recipe from the table nearby, meaning that whenever you go at a camp and rest, they will replenish. Quick tip here, by the way, in case you fear dying, there's a quick camp at the elevator level below the boss arena, so you can use that, and every time you die, you can respawn close by and repeat the encounter. In the meantime, though, I'm going to invest some extra skill points here. We're mainly going to focus on a quick build early on via the Helm Splitter, so we're gonna invest some extra points into Vitality, about 9 of them in total, for some extra aerial damage. And in the case of Ku, we're going to focus a bit on strength. Pretty much every single one of the 3 attributes, strength, vitality, and fluorescence, will correspond to one of the skill lines you see right here in the literal skill tree. So down by the roots, for example, since we invested those points into vitality, we can descend further down the tree with enough skill points to eventually invest into the Helm Splitter. We only need like level 9 or even like 7 for that actually. Helm Splitter will help a ton descending from the air, as you're going to be doing a lot of air combos anyway, and it's going to just smash the ground with great force, a lot of stagger, so very useful even against boss fights. Anywho, from this point on, we're going to just follow the main story. We have some quick objectives to complete, but eventually you should be brought here to the first sub-city, and specifically on this side of the map, we can grab the chainmail on the way towards our mech blade encounter. Not just the chainmail, actually, we're also going to get Onslaught, which is going to be one of our first attack bonuses we can apply to the character. So you will have to physically equip them right here in the menu screen. You can have up to like 6 of them, depending on the type of armor that you wear, but this one will give us a boost in vigor by 2 at the start of every fight. So very useful, kind of like having a trinket upon you. What we're going to be doing with that is head over to the nearby gap, and at the top of this second tower, where we're going to find another campsite, but also a strongbox. And that strongbox will have the chain mail inside. Now, you will have different types of armors in this game that you will eventually get that provide different bonuses, but may have some downsides. For example, in the case of the chainmail, it has amazing resistances and defenses, but at the cost of increasing the enemy's awareness of us, though at this stage that doesn't really matter that much, as we're still going to go head on mostly against these targets. But from this point on, we're virtually ready to go and grab our mech blade, so we're gonna head over towards the Riverside building. It should be the tallest in the area, so easy to spot from far away, and we're gonna be using our, well, grappling and also our vine abilities to get almost at the top. You're first going to want to activate the camp on the level below the final boss encounter, as, you know, in case anything goes wrong, you spawn close by. Also, checking our inventory, we're gonna invest some extra points into vitality so that we can finally unlock that helm splitter, really useful for this boss fight. Even more useful will be our acid bolts, work extremely well against this boss encounter, and, you know, anything else you've gotten to your advantage will be useful here too. We're not going to take the stairs, but instead we're going to jump here behind the actual boss encounter. It is going to be easy to avoid its detection. So again, we're gonna drop on him and get that assassination going. And here's the thing, you can totally use the helm splitter if you want to, or you can get the drop on him with this really freaking nice set of acid bolts. And as you can see, it doesn't just deal damage over time, but it's also going to debuff its armor. So we're pretty much going to make quick work of him. Plus, your Ku also has another debuff that can apply to the target. Maybe not right now because we don't currently have it, but it's still going to be very useful. I mean, look how easy it is to take down its damage. Once it is done, you're virtually ready to go. You can now enter inside of the main building, and here is the mech blade. This is going to give you the mech/light, increases the damage of attack 2 by 1.03x for 5 seconds. You get a nice damage buff, which makes it like one of the best ones early on for extra damage. And you can also further upgrade that to make it even stronger. Like I said, every time you parry, you will activate its effect. So going here, you can also talk to the golem, by the way, but since we got all the locations as it is, there's no more dialogues for him to point on the map. We're pretty much good to go with most of the big things. Now, we aren't done just yet. You're also going to want to keep an eye out to the top of these circular metal structures you see on the map. They kind of look like mushrooms from above. But basically, you're going to find walker upgrades at the top here. So basically for your moving base. In the case of this one, for example, we got a facility module, which is useful to expand the facilities back at the walker. But you can find the other types as well that will help a ton with upgrading and getting access to even more tools back at that walker. On top of that, every single time you go into a new area, Ku will actually reveal and find stuff for you automatically. There's even upgrades to further increase that to hidden items, and they will persist on the map too. So in case you missed it, you can just check your map, and a strong box or anything else you left uncompleted will still be on that side of the map for you to get. Speaking of Ku, there's also another mechanic at play over here, which is your bond level. Now, bond naturally increases as you bring him in combat with you, but there are other advantages too, which include getting access to extra slots over here, especially for tonics and other special abilities you can have him automatically cast in combat. Stuff like healing, damage, debuffs against targets, taunts, and other things that you can also unlock in the skill tree or find in the world for him. And as you can see, you do need different ranks, like rank 2 for the second slot, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And one of the best ways to also increase your reputation with him is to also go back at your walker base and take showers with the dog, and also conversations. Yeah, you're pretty much going to increase the bond level really quickly if you also take on the dialogues and just interact with them back at the base. That's going to already give you like 1 level every few in-game days when you visit, but it's going to pay off in the long run. Now, in addition to this, you're going to find a lot of food ingredients in your journeys as well. Stuff like fish, eggs, rice, and other types of plants, both the seeds as well as recipes for different food items. And you're going to always want to go out into the wild with a full belly. If you go back at your base, you're going to notice that you can pretty much set up whole farms here, incubators for like chicken and whatnot, and also farms for different types of seeds, which will then bring back at Kagura, and she's going to prepare different types of meals with different proportions portions. And those meals actually provide some very strong buffs, as you can see, to HP, defenses, attack, skill power, and so on. So pretty significant actually. You will always want them with you, as they do last for a very long time. And in this case, if you select any type of meal, Kagura will even make all the necessary preparations and grow exactly the ingredients you need for that specific food, as long as you have unlocked them. Just like in the case of Ku, the more you increase your reputation with her, the more access you're going to get to even better recipes, which in turn provide even stronger bonuses, especially useful as you're going to progress towards the late game. Now, on a final note, also in the first map, you're going to encounter some of these closed off locations that require a specific key to open, like a red key or a blue key. So I'm going to show you where you can find them. And one of the first will require a bit of story progression, specifically up until you get to the third sub-city. Right before the second main boss encounter in the area, you're going to reach this door and you're going to have a conversation with one of the golems once again. And this guy is going to provide you the first red key, which will give you already access to the next keys as well, but this is going to be the first one that is major. Also, during these moments, you're going to get a very strong katana, which I recommend grabbing, so absolutely get that. It's still going to be strong for both you and your companion. From this point on, you're going to follow this path onto the eastern parts of the wall over here. So basically exiting the third sub-city and just going to this side of the map. You're going to have to do a bit of, you know, like wall climbing and whatnot. And at the top here, very close to one of the campsites, you're going to also find the blue key needed for another location. Before you head over to the main boss area, what you can do is head over back to the starting location to use the blue key on this secret chest that you probably encountered at the beginning of the game. So you can simply open that up, go inside, and even though that's not going to give you anything specific, you are going to get some extra amber and even some booklets you can sell. However, there's also another location that uses the red key instead, which is going to be towards the main objective, specifically on this side of the map further east. Yeah, you're going to open up this door, and if you go inside, again, you're going to get some pretty nice extra chest bonuses. Nothing too much to write home about, but still pretty useful. Anyway, that about concludes today's video with our perfect start guide. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.